And we are live. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Translators on Air. My name is Dmitry Kornyukhov. I'm your host. Join me today, my incredible co-host, Elena Tereshchenkova. Hi, Elena.
Hi, everyone.
And our guest today, Martina Russo. Hi, Martina.
Hello, guys.
Thank you so much for joining us today, Martina. Martina is an Italian and Swiss-Italian marketing translation specialist and owner of Moving Words Translation. She's also established Freelancer at work to help entrepreneurs and freelancers advertise their services and attract business wherever they go through custom-made laptop decals. With multiple degrees and certifications in translation, marketing, website localization, and copywriting, Martina has been offering marketing translation services for her clients for over 7 years. And when she is not working, she can be found outdoors, climbing a mountain, or snowboarding down one. So in this episode, we're going to be talking about social selling and what it is, how to network online, and how can LinkedIn help you market your services and promote your translation business. But before we jump to the topic of this conversation, I would like to make a few announcements. As always, the 5th season of Translators on Air has been sponsored by our friends at SmartCat. SmartCat developed a great platform where you can find more work, collaborate with other translators, use their CAT tool absolutely for free. And if this is something you are interested in, check out SmartCat by clicking the green button below this video, or if you're watching or listening this in the recording, you can always visit the first link in the description. All right, we have quite a few people tuning in. Thank you so much for joining, everyone. Hello, Becky, Charlotte, Hagen, Daniela, Sudeep, Ricardo, Olga, Andrea, Dante, Steven, Sharif, Xantra, Rosa, Anna, Luis, Spiros, Maxine, Ismarie, Erin, Martina, Jose, Lucia, Federica, Macarena, Richard, John, Monica, Marcela, Daniel, Jose, Caro, Yelena, another Jose, another Yelena, and Marisa. Thank you so much for tuning in, guys. I apologize if I mispronounced any of your names. I didn't mean to do that. We have quite an international crowd here. And for us Eastern Europeans, it's always quite confusing when we have different names from different cultures. So I apologize for that. For those of you who are watching this for the first time ever, because I can see we have quite a few new faces here, this is a live webinar. You can actively participate in the discussion. You can use the chat window on the right-hand side, and I can see that there are a lot of people saying hi. Hi, everyone. You can say hi and hello, where you're from, what languages you work with, what are your fields of specialization, and whether or not you're using LinkedIn for marketing. I have also created a couple of polls. If you look below this video stream, you will see an Ask a Question section and Polls section. You can check out these polls, take them. It will help us better understand whether or not you're using LinkedIn, whether or not you have any kind of success with it, and it will help us shape the flow of this conversation. You can also post your questions. Martina, Elena, and I will be more than happy to answer them. There is an Ask a Question section below this video. There are quite a lot of questions have been posted there. You can upload the questions that you really like, or you can post your own questions there. And of course, these webinars are best enjoyed with friends and colleagues. I have just opened a couple more spots. And if you are not super busy, share the link to this webinar on your social networks, for example, Facebook, Twitter, or even LinkedIn, and invite your friends and colleagues to join us. More people, more fun. All right, Martina, how are you?
Hi, I'm great. And you? Thank you for the really nice presentation, for having me here. It's really nice. Hi, everyone. I see a few people from Italy as well, so that's very nice.
Yeah, Martina, thank you so much for accepting our invitation. And this topic, I think LinkedIn is a pretty hot topic. Whenever I go on social media, for example, Facebook groups for translators, I see the topic of LinkedIn popping up quite often. And some people have success with it. Some people are not quite successful. But before we jump to this whole LinkedIn thing, can you please quickly introduce yourself and tell us a few things about yourself and how you end up in this beautiful profession?
Yeah, I mean, it's I've been doing this for 7-8 years now, and I kind of ended up doing it randomly, but it was also the only thing that like in retrospect, it's just my thing. So I've always been quite good at languages, and I moved abroad when I was 19, and then I came back to Italy, and somehow I ended up studying translation. I don't even know how it happened, but it happened. And then I just started doing my first project, the first horrible project, and then it gradually, started getting better and better. Also, I think 7-8 years ago, we didn't have as much information as we have nowadays. We didn't have all these webinars, all these things that are now targeted to translators. And that's made a huge difference. So, yeah. And I've sort of ended up doing marketing translation because in my first 3 years degree was actually translation, interpreting, and communication. So I had a component of marketing in my degree. And then it's just something that I've always enjoyed doing, also the directness of marketing. And then I've just sort of specialized in marketing. And that's me today.
So may I ask you a question? Why do you use LinkedIn to market your translation services? What's so special about this platform?
Okay, so LinkedIn is this huge directory of companies, but most importantly of people who work at these companies. And I don't think that you have any other place where you can actually get in touch with decision makers so easily. You can just go and click connect and just send a personalized message, and you can talk to the CEO of a company. And I don't think you can do that easily anywhere else. Of course, you can you can try and get in touch with the company itself on social media platforms such as Twitter and Facebook, but it's more of an open platform, and it's hard to get in touch with the decision maker themselves. Whereas on LinkedIn, you have the chance of prospecting or, even getting in touch with these people. And you have the chance of just constantly being on the radar of these people. And and also you have the chance of really niching down and creating your own network. Whereas when you are on Twitter or on Facebook, you kind of have followers or people who follow your page, and it's really hard to kind of get your niche, to follow you. You cannot really control that. Whereas on LinkedIn, you can accept or deny requests. You can go after, so to speak, the people that you want to connect with. And so that's, I think, the main thing. And then before actually we dive into the LinkedIn topic, I wanted to say something about social selling, because that's the main point of LinkedIn. Nowadays, cold prospecting doesn't really work that well anymore. And the chance of just using a platform to just build relationships and maintain relationships and just be the expert, establish yourself as the expert in your specific field. LinkedIn just is basically based on that, and so it makes it so much easier for you to do all of that.
Yeah, makes perfect sense. And you think that doing networking online is kind of important, right?
Yes, of course. Networking is always important. Some of my best clients and best projects come from networking with colleagues, but also networking with, of course, people out of our industry. So it's really important, both offline and online. And for me specifically, and I think for many of us, because we are people who work remotely. And in my case, I always like to be also in remote places. So if I didn't have online networking, it would be really hard for me to network with businesses.
And I'm listening to you and I'm thinking that probably LinkedIn is the best place to network, because people who are on LinkedIn are there for it, basically. Because if you try to network with someone, say on Facebook, people might not be up for it because they have their personal pages, and I'm sure that some people prefer to keep work and their personal life separate. And LinkedIn was actually especially made for that, so people are ready to be approached and will probably be more responsive when you talk to them about work, right?
Yes, definitely. I, for one, don't like when even colleagues, unless we know each other personally, I would probably not accept your friendship request on Facebook, because I don't know you, and Facebook for me is you know, my private sphere, and rather than LinkedIn, which is basically just built for networking for business purposes. So it's definitely the place to be for lead generation, networking, and everything, you know, B2B social selling.
Yeah.
Can you talk a bit more about social selling? What it is, how it works? What are some do's and don'ts of social selling?
So the thing is with social selling is basically you, as I was saying earlier, you build relationships and you maintain those relationships. So with your prospects. So instead of interrupting someone's day to pitch your services or products or whatever, you just do your thing. You provide value, you know, through whatever platform you choose. So we're going to be talking about LinkedIn today, so let's just say LinkedIn. Yeah. So you just do your thing. You provide value. You put out there like content that's relevant to your target customers and market. And so in that way, you kind of are on their radar all the time. And at that time, you know, when they actually need you, they will know where to find you. So they basically come to you instead of it being the other way around. Yeah. And anyone who does this kind of has some basics of social selling covered already. It's just something that you need to master properly. Also because we all spend so much time on social media already. And so we are much more prone to, you know, starting a conversation this way rather than like, I mean, who likes being called these days, right? I don't. So, and also I read some statistics that 78% of sales people who implement social selling in their sales strategies are 78% like more successful than people who don't. So that's, you know, pretty staggering statistics.
Can you give some example of some just practical example of social selling, of providing value? How can it work? What kind of social selling do you do when trying to attract find new clients? Okay, so since we're talking about LinkedIn, what I do on LinkedIn, according to some specific criteria, algorithm, blah, blah, like, you know, I follow some rules, but basically I try to post every single day, and anything that's related to translation, because I do marketing. So I try to post stuff about, you know, marketing translation, business, how creative translation, transcreation, what you can do for businesses. And I try to put out there like a small short post every day so that I keep building my network every day. And by now I don't even send out requests anymore. I just accept people's requests. And they kind of attract, of course, not all of them are in my target market, but a lot of them are. So on the side, my network is building up. And in the meantime, I'm keeping posting relevant content of, you know, things that I want my potential customers or even current clients to know. And it's incredible. Like I've been doing this for like six months, I think now. And it's incredible that once in a while, actually quite often by now, someone will tag me in some different post, or, you know, when someone is looking for an Italian translator or whatever, people who I have never talked to, they know me because I've been everywhere, basically. And so they will tag me into that person's post and we're like, oh yeah, Martina, she is your person, you need to talk to her. And then you start building a relationship with that person who actually needed your expertise in the first place. And so that's basically what you want to be doing with your profile.
I was wondering, what about other activities apart from posting or writing short posts? For example, liking someone posts or leaving comments or trying to engage into conversation? Because we have a question here from Paige, and she asks about LinkedIn behavior, so to speak. For example, posting, liking, commenting. Does it help us kind of rise in the ranks of LinkedIn feed and be on top of it?
Of course, because every time that you do something on LinkedIn, that I mean, first of all, your network will be notified or somehow see it because you will pop up in their feed. But also those people's networks and those people's networks, it's basically a numbers game. And so every time that you do something, you will somehow end up in someone's feed. And once you are building up a community, let's say, or a network that's more or less within your target, then you will keep ending up in front of the right people. And so every single comment and every single like and every single share is something that you really need like to think carefully about, because it's potential marketing all the time. Like every single thing that you do on LinkedIn, you want to make sure that you're, feel free to be yourself, but just also make sure that you're not somehow doing something that you should not be doing.
Yeah.
I hope that replies to the question.
So you also mentioned previously that we need to kind of establish ourselves as experts in our field, so we could start building a network and become a trustworthy person for people of our network. So how can we establish ourselves as experts, but in particular on LinkedIn? For blogging probably, or something else?
Well, in particularly for LinkedIn, but yeah, also blogging, I would say, or in any situation, but particularly LinkedIn, it's by putting out relevant content. So for example, I've been posting a lot of, I kind of have my themes, but I always try to change it up because, and this is something that's really important. We as a profession, like as professionals in the translation industry, we tend to post and to write stuff for other translators. And the thing is that no one else outside of our profession gives, them about a lot of what we care. So it's okay to talk about grammar, linguistics, whatever, but if you do, you need to make sure that you do it from the client's perspective. So, okay, this translation sucks, but why does it suck? Like, yes, it's lame, it's bad, whatever. It's like, I know he hurts you to see something that's written badly, but why? Like, it doesn't hurt the client unless it will bring negative results for them. Mm-hmm. So it's important that every time that you write, a short form post or whatever on any of the platforms, it's important that you always think about what your clients want to read, because otherwise you're just establishing yourself as an expert among translators, but that's not what you want to do, right?
Yeah. So what do you want to do then? You have to write more content that is focused on the clients and their niche?
Yes. Well, so first of all, you need, of course, that's kind of the basics, to have your, personal branding, business branding, whatever, however you want to call it, fully defined. And you want to know who you're going after, who your clients are, and who your niche is, especially on LinkedIn. For example, so who do you work with? So for me, for example, it's mid-sized like companies in different niches. So I have my niches within my niches. So for example, I work a lot with action sports, the outdoors, and technology, just to name 3 of them. So I will go after those specific type of companies who need marketing services because they operate on an international scale. But who is my contact person at that particular company? So who will or might read, or who would I like to read my posts, and who is going to be the decision maker for me? So I know that my people might be marketing directors, digital operations specialists, and so forth. So if you work for, I don't know, lawyers, I don't know anything about that industry, but I will just make a random example. Maybe the lawyer isn't active on LinkedIn, but his secretary is. So you might need to redefine your strategy based upon the research that you did on who's, using LinkedIn.
Go on. I just wanted to ask
say something.
I wanted to ask a question about niches. Speaking about niches, what kind of strategy would you recommend to narrow them down or to cast a broader net? What works better on LinkedIn? Okay,
so niche down, but keep it relatable. When I'm talking about posts, okay? I know this is kind of hard to grasp, but for example, when I talk about translation and marketing translation, I am going after a specific niche, but LinkedIn is a numbers game. So if you keep it super specific, not many people will relate to what you wrote, and then the reach of that post won't be enough for you to reach the right people. I know that kind of sounds hard, but it's not that hard. Once you like practice, and then you know. So for example, if I write, let's say, something about machine translation, marketing, whatever, I keep it specific. I talk about something that's specific, but I use my client's jargon. And then I always end with a call to action and a question that's open enough for anyone who come across the post to answer the question. So the question doesn't even have to be specific to translation. Maybe I'm talking about translation and the fact that I translated something so that I keep it on brand. I'm still talking about what I did. I'm talking about translation. I'm keeping it on brand. But maybe within the post I mentioned and technology. And so I will link my question to something that I know that more people can relate to. I don't know if that was clear enough.
Okay. So it seems to me that this whole LinkedIn network building is depends on blogging a lot. So you have to create content, you have to create the right kind of content, engage with the right kind of content. But a lot of people are not that keen on creating content or writing articles. Is there any way for them to still be on LinkedIn and use it simply as a way to find leads, reach out to them, and find clients, basically, without any kind of whole marketing activities like you do?
Well, of course there is. It's just not going to have the same effect. You can do, every single tool, everything that you do in your life, basically, will give you results based on how much effort and what you do with it and how much effort you put into it. So, of course, if you just use it to connect with people, it might give you some results. But then it's the whole thing of the whole social selling aspect of it is kind of put aside, and you just use it as another directory, So it's kind of a different thing. And just for you, like for everyone to know, I hate writing content. I even I pay someone to write my long form articles, and then I go over them to just make sure that they fit my style and everything, add and take out stuff. But somehow it's just a small post on LinkedIn. It's only something like, I think, 1,400 characters. So, even if you post once a week or twice a week, then it should be enough. And you don't need to reinvent the wheel. If you've been doing this for anywhere between 6 months and, 1 year, let's say, and longer enough, you will surely have something to say that happened to you during your daily work, life, or you can go and study some blog about translation and just pick some facts and figures, or you can use quotes. You don't need to reinvent the wheel. You can use existing content and just repurpose that, adding your unique style and voice to it. I mean, if you want to stand out, that's the only way. You can, you don't need to post daily. You don't need to be super crazy about it like I am, kind of obsessed. But you can, you do need to put some effort into it. Or you can just use it at a directory, but it's just a different way of using it.
Do you ever use it as a directory, or you just focus solely on social selling? For example, you find a company that you really want to work for, and you saw in their blog posts that they're expanding, for example, to a new market, and you think that's right now might be a good idea to introduce yourself. Would you chase them on LinkedIn?
Of course. I mean, next to my marketing translation expert, I should write something like professional stalker. I mean, I really go after it. So, of course. I mean, if I know that a specific person. So, for example, I almost never use prose. I don't even know how to spell it. But I almost never use prose anymore. But once in a while, I will receive a notification, and it just happened to me the other day, and something that really spoke to me, that project, and I opened it and I found something like 100 people already bidding in my language pair, and I thought, okay, it's not even worth it. So I went and stalked this person backwards, and they found her on LinkedIn, and I connected with her, and she accepted my connection, and now we're talking. So, if you want to get to it, you can, basically. And Another thing that I do, for example, I really like working with action sports brand. It's something that I really like doing. So, and I want to work with more of these types of brands. And it's really hard to find contact people in this industry. So what I do is I go on LinkedIn and I use the filters to track down like the exact person, position, company, type of task that they do. And then I start sending like personalized messages to, 10, 20, 30 people. And then just take it from there.
Mm-hmm.
We actually have a question from Jose about this whole contacting people, stalking them. The biggest difficulty that many translators have on LinkedIn is that they not quite sure what kind of position the person who can be a decision maker holds in the company. So based on your experience, who do you think it's more efficient to connect to? Somebody from HR maybe, or somebody who has project manager in their title or something like this?
The question and the answer would be way too vague because it really depends on who you work with. So as I said earlier, for me, it's companies who are mid-sized. So for me, in that case, I will go after marketing directors. They actually call themselves, I saw just today, digital operations specialist, something like that. But earlier, when I was working with smaller companies, I would talk to the CEO of the company because it's such a small company. The CEO is within reach. So even before you get to LinkedIn, you will need to do your own research. If it's an agency, if you're someone who likes working with agencies, there's nothing wrong with that. You will probably look for project managers. So depending on whatever and each company and target client that you're after, you will need to do research on that precise company. So I'm afraid I cannot give you a one-size-fits-all answer.
Yeah, that's perfectly fine, really. I guess that's all depends on your niche and where you work with. And as Spyros just mentioned in the comments, you'll have to create a pattern that applies best to your recipients / wannabe clients. So it's all about understanding your target audience and creating a sort of a recipe for your marketing activities.
Yes. I mean, it's your customers are the reason why you're there, right? So you need to learn how to speak to them using their language. It's what we do professionally, but somehow it's super hard to translate that into our marketing. So it took me years to get to this point. And also, I think one of the things that we do as professionals is we are really afraid to let our true self, get across.
Personality. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but every single company, including ourselves, we are a brand, and each brand is unique. So you need to, to let it shine. Sounds a little cheesy, but it's true. You need to let them see who you are and what you can do for them. And that's how then you attract them. Because otherwise, if you blend in with everyone else, then you will never stand out, basically.
Yeah.
I think that one of the ways to let that personality shine and to establish your brand, if you will, is to have a good profile on LinkedIn. What are some of your tips to optimize profile?
Okay, so first of all, the thing with LinkedIn is that it used to be strictly a CV platform, and it's just become a social, selling platform. So now it's more about talking your clients through, first getting to know you, then knowing what you can do for them, and then kind of taking them through a funnel. So you basically need to structure your CV, your profile in a way that is not a CV, and that is basically kind of in the end, it's going to be a sales page. It doesn't have to feel like one, though. It needs to feel like you're talking to them and you're offering a solution to their problems, which is kind of marketing 101. But on LinkedIn, you have 1,400 characters on the summary, and you need to use those well. And I just, I just actually fixed my LinkedIn profile yesterday. Because so when you have the experience section, and a lot of people just treat it as a CV, just an entry of a CV. but every single space that you have there is an opportunity that you have to talk people through your process and what you can do for them. So what you want to do is to never talk about yourself. The only spaces that you should be allowed to talk about yourself are your headline, and not even that, like only 20% of that headline should be talking about yourself. So you need to have a professional headshot photo, picture. And so, no fuzzy background, like not with your partner, not with your cat. Just, I know it's kind of common sense, but a lot of people, not just us as translators, do that. So it's always nice to repeat that. And then you need to have a relevant cover, like background photo, because you can have that. You can either keep it neutral and relevant, or, still neutral and relevant at the same time. So for example, if you're from Toronto, just put a photo of Toronto, whatever. But for example, now that actually LinkedIn changed the format of the profile and you have your photo all the way to the left, you have a chance to use that space to pitch your services again. So I was just, filling with it yesterday, and I wrote something like marketing translations for X and X and X types of companies. So that's another space that you can use. So there's that. There's your profile photo. Then you have to use your headline, as I was saying earlier, and you need to condense everything that you are and what you do for your clients in that one short space. And actually something that I don't know if anyone knows, but if you try to edit your headline from your desktop, using LinkedIn from desktop, you have, I don't know how many characters, but for some reason, if you do it from mobile, it lets you exceed all the characters that you want. So, just go on mobile and just, feel free to write more. That's just what I did. So, yeah. So for example, in my case, I wrote, and I keep changing it, I wrote marketing translations, helping X and X brands sell to their foreign-speaking markets, Italian and Swiss Italian specialists. So I kind of have everything in there. And then onto the next section, then you have the summary section. Now when someone lands on your profile, so the summary section is collapsible. So someone who lands on your profile will see the first lines only, whereas until a couple of weeks ago, it was only the first 2 lines. So now you have more space, which is good. And you need to use those 4 lines, like wide, where you have the chance to hook your readers to click in on expand. So then you have 1,400 characters, and you need to kind of create, talk directly to them. Don't just write a dry list of what you do, who you are, because no one cares. Just write what you can do for them. And then try to add any relevant media and, portfolio, whatever, anything. Like I don't know, I think that I took a screenshot of my homepage because I didn't know what to put there, but you can do anything that's relevant to your, to what you do. If you want to put your CV, your resume, if you want, you can do that. You can attach a few documents. So that's a great thing that you can use. Yeah, and then trying to get endorsed and to add relevant skill sets that you have, and that's it. And then your profile is done. It takes some work and practice to craft a perfect profile, but it's worth it.
What about the testimonials? I believe there is an option to have testimonials on LinkedIn profile. Is it still there? Because I haven't checked my LinkedIn in a while, to be honest.
Yes, it's there, but you need to ask people, like you need to ask someone to actively go and write testimonial for you from their own profile. So either you have someone who's willing to do that, or or that's it, that's that. If for any reason you don't have that specific person on LinkedIn, or for whatever reason they're busy and they cannot leave your testimonial, but maybe you have that testimonial on your website already, I would suggest to kind of create a nice sheet somewhere, screenshot it, use it as an image, and add it at the beginning as an attachment, for example. So you kind of work around the issue.
Mm-hmm.
One of the top questions right now that we have in our Ask a Question section is about LinkedIn Premium. I'm not sure if you're using a premium version of LinkedIn, but if you do, can you share a few things about this premium feature of LinkedIn and what kind of functionality does it have, and is it worth it at all?
Okay, so so basically you can pick between 3 plans, I think, or 2 plans. I don't know which one I picked, but I am on the premium one. So I'm not sure if I picked the Sales Navigator or just the premium one. I am on some premium plan anyway. And it's definitely worth it if you're serious about prospecting. So you have the chance to really like niche down. You have some filters, and then you have like a separate interface when you can actually stalk your leads. So basically every single time there's someone in your network who you mark as a lead in a specific category, for example, publishes something or whatever, you get a notification straight into your inbox, and then you can just go there and just interact with them. So that really helps you be on top of your game, which you kind of can't select if you're not on that plan. And also it allows you to see who is visiting your profile, which can be a good thing, because if you're not on the premium plans, then you only see, I think, the first 4 or 5 or something like that. Whereas with the premium one, you see everyone. And for example, for me, it's been really useful, because then you can go and select people based on your own criteria, of course. And then you can get in touch with them and just be casual and be like, hey, I received a notification that you are visiting my profile, and I was impressed by yours, whatever. Just, something, just never try to pitch your services. Just mention something that you have in common. Be nice, and most people will accept your request because they came to see your profile in the first place. So somehow they were interested in your profile.
Mm-hmm. We have a comment from Paige. She's saying that you can use the free trial of the premium plan something like once a quarter. So it might be a good opportunity to try some things out.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, if you want to try it out, it's definitely useful to just try it out with the free trial, because it doesn't really come that cheap. It's something anywhere. And I think that the pricing depends on the country. Mm-hmm. Because I was just making a test, and I was going from Italian side to Swiss side, and the Swiss LinkedIn kind of like aims really high, so the Italian one was a little cheaper, but yeah.
I wonder if you register for the premium plan on in another country through VPN or something, would still work for you?
Maybe, I don't know. I'm not sure. I will need to look into it. The thing is that it's not really, the thing with LinkedIn is that it's really being like going through massive changes, and they keep changing the interfaces. Yes. So it keeps changing. And a few weeks ago, I was trying to look into this premium Sales Navigator thing, and I couldn't quite find the right settings, and I'm kind of run low on patience, and I gave up, but I will go back to it. Yeah, I will try to look at it again. But it's definitely useful. So if anyone has the budget for it, definitely just put it to try.
Yeah, or you can always try a trial, as Paige suggests, to see if it works for you. But I guess you'll have to figure out your sales strategy, your brand, and everything first before you jump to this whole premium LinkedIn features, because you really need to have everything else is figured out and ready to be in action. We have another question from.
Sorry.
Yeah. Go ahead. Sorry.
Just on the premium thing, it's not essential. You can just focus on creating content first. Yeah. As I said, it doesn't have to be that difficult. I know that sometimes life gets in the way, so you don't have to, do it every single day, but you can try every, once a week or whatever. And yeah, just focus on that. And then at a later time, you can look into getting the premium thing, if you see that it works for you. Every single platform is great for everyone. For example, I hate Twitter, if you go to my Twitter page, it's basically my LinkedIn content repurposed.
Yeah.
Linked on Twitter. So. It's because I even forgot to fix that. I just realized that the other day. So, just see if it works for you before investing any money.
Yeah, absolutely. That's common sense there.
Yes.
So we have another question from Renata, and I think it's a very interesting topic. What do you think about LinkedIn groups for landing clients? Do you find groups useful? Is there any way you can land a client there?
They're kind of dead. Like they were very useful for a while, but now they're kind of dead. And I think I heard that they were trying to bring them back to life, but it's not that far yet. So it's kind of useless. I mean, I tried to look into several groups, but it didn't really work. I mean, it was not. They're dead. There's no one writing, no one posting anything, so it kind of doesn't make any sense right now.
Interesting.
I remember having not quite some good experience with LinkedIn groups. I wrote a post for a LinkedIn group of, I think it was a group of boutique hotel owners or something like that. And basically there was absolutely nothing salesy in that post. It was just information about ways to make your website translation work for you. The only thing that was that could be seen as trying to sell something was the fact that I was a translator. So that was it. And the post, I really liked that post. I actually posted it later on my blog, and the post was moved to promotion section or something like that, where no one could see it. It was kind of disappointing. So,
yeah, I mean, it's. I would just steer away from. I've been looking into groups I've really been studying the group thing, and it's just, it's just kind of useless. And yeah, I am active in one group, and there's only one person posting. I mean, I am active on a few. I have something like 50 groups that I am in, but there is something like one person posting once every month, and that's it.
Yeah.
So it's not. You're better. Yeah, direct your efforts elsewhere.
But it's interesting to know that there is a comment from Xantra that groups are useful to message other members of the group without having to pay for email. So this is probably one of the ways to.
Xantra? What did you say?
Groups are useful if you want to send a message to other members of the same group without have to pay for the LinkedIn messages.
Okay, yeah, I guess. I haven't really used it in that way, but yeah. I mean, it's much easier for me to go after people like according to their interests, their skill set, and their position, their headline. It's just much more efficient for me. Also because maybe someone entered a group like 5 years ago and then I forgot about it, like what I did. I think that I am still in some super lame groups that no one ever uses, and yeah. So.
We have a couple of questions that are actually related to each other. So our viewer, Rosa, asked, I have been in LinkedIn for a long time and have never been contacted for a job offer. What can I do to be contacted? So is there anything that we can do to let prospects come to us instead of the other way around?
Yes, well, optimize your profile in a way that showcases what you do, but most importantly, that talks to people, like to your customers, so that they know that you can do something for them, and then start producing content so that they will find you instead of you having to find them. Before I started using LinkedIn this way, I would be contacted by, I don't know, maybe one person per month, which is really not too bad, but that's just because I have a specific niche. And so some like these people are still finding me, but it really changes your game. I've been sending out so many quotes this year, and like a high-end quotes, and it's really changed the game. So if you want to get people to come to you, then you have to be active. That's the only way for you to do that.
And where do you get ideas for your posts, especially if you're posting every single day? Do you follow a content calendar or a content plan?
I wish that I could say that I have a content calendar, but I don't. I'm not that organized. I tried to, I swear, I tried to, I just can't do that. I kind of try to schedule things, but then I don't know, I skip them. And I try to take inspiration from my daily life. So for example, of course, you need to be able to have non-NDA protected work to do that sometimes. So sometimes luckily I can refer to some of my projects that I'm working on. Other times I will just go and look at the news, or, you know, my experience on visiting a website and just finding machine translation horrors, or I will go online and find some statistics, some funny things, some quotes, jokes, anything. And sometimes I run out of ideas and I don't know what to write about. A couple of days I will skip, but most of the time I will manage to find something that I can write about.
What kind of news do you mean? Do you mean industry news for your client's niche, or some other kind of translation news? What kind of news?
What kind of? I didn't understand what you said. Yes, but I didn't understand what.
Okay. What kind of news do you mean? Do you mean industry news for your client's niche?
News. Okay. Yeah. Sorry. I understand news, and I didn't understand. News. Well, sometimes I try to look up, for example, Slater. I don't know how you say that. Like, it's a Swiss one, so Swiss based. But I think everyone knows that. Slater. They have a lot of interesting insight. I really like Lingua Greca. It's pretty famous among translators as well, because they have a lot of relevant stuff. Yeah, I mean, I try to look up industry specific news, but then I extrapolate what I need and I turn them in a way that my, you know, target customers or whatever, whoever in my network, and people who land on my network, on my post, will be able to relate with that. So maybe I don't know how to make a specific example now, but if there is something that I don't know, it's very relevant for us, like statistic-wise, maybe I will take 10% of what is being said in that post, and I don't know, couple it with something else that I took from another post, put them together, and then add my own unique thing. And that's going to make it interesting. Because by now, people also know that I have my own, you know, voice. That's my brand, and so it's, so that works that way.
Yeah, sounds interesting. We also have a couple of great comments from Paige regarding content and creating content. So first, you can recycle the heck out of your content too. Use it across different platforms. And Paige also keeps a list of content ideas on her desktop. Then when she's ready, she does some research, reads, digests, writes, and posts. A great idea as well.
Yes, definitely. I mean, if you can be organized about it, I fully suggest to do that. It takes a lot of the stress out of it, out of the whole process. So if you can do that, definitely.
I basically, I'm doing the same. I also have a list of ideas that I want to pursue, and sometimes when I have time or inspiration, I will just jot down a few ideas, like a bullet list, what I want to write about in a particular post. For example, I come up with an idea of a post, and in order not to forget what I wanted to write about, I would just jot down a few ideas in a sort of a bullet list, and then when I have proper time, I will get back to it and do some research, of course, and writing and posting. But the problem is time.
Well, I know, I do that too. But for example, so just to give you an example, today I was booking a flight and I ended up on Ryanair's website. And to my horror, it's like the Italian version of it, instead of like where it said save 10% in Italian, and I'm sure that our Italian people here will agree, it should have said risparmia il 10%. And instead it said salva il 10%. And it drove me crazy. And it's definitely something that I'm going to be writing about tomorrow. So it's just something that's simple, you know. Oops, my cat, I'm sorry.
It's okay. Cats are welcome here.
We have a cat-friendly show.
Yeah. Well, anyway, hello. So she really wants some love. She's been like scratching my leg forever now. I'm trying to keep her down. It didn't work. Anyway, so it's definitely something that I will be writing about tomorrow. I'm going to be writing a small post. And the thing is that I've been writing so many times about machine translation and like non-professional translators doing damage to companies, but I always make it first in a fun and light way. I never about badmouth companies. I never make like, like say names. I just make an example and I give all the things that are wrong with that thing. But so people know they can relate to it, but I never say anything bad about anyone. Actually, that's something that I really want to say because it happened to me when I write a post. It only happens when I write something about translation. For example, the other day, I don't know what I was writing, something like brand willing to pay this much money and brand B is willing to pay that much money. And who do you think is going to be more successful, blah, blah, blah. And it was a very fun, light hearted post about, brands being cool because they know that they should be, putting that much money into their translation efforts. And everyone outside of the translation industry went on and thanked me for bringing it up, and they were so right, and blah, blah, blah. And then we had something like 5 translators showing up and just starting writing like, oh yes, but clients are crap and they don't pay, and so on and so forth. Guys, I know that's hard to resist. Sometimes just don't do it because it puts you in a really bad light. No one wants to work with a complainer, especially if you go around and do it in public. And especially on a platform like LinkedIn, where everyone sees what you do. Like, keep the moaning in translation forums if you have to moan. Like, it's better if you don't. You don't do it altogether. But if you have to, just keep it away from the public light.
Yeah, you also have your family members for it.
Or cats.
Yes.
Cats or pets.
Okay, to go and vent. We have a whole Facebook with things translators never say. Just go there and vent. Just don't make names, never, anywhere. But just don't do it on LinkedIn, especially not on your colleagues' posts either, because that's going to put you in a bad light. It's bad marketing. That's what it is.
Yep. So we have a question from Spiders, and this is something I also wanted to ask about blogging. For example, many translators have websites, and some of them have blogs, and they would probably prefer blogging on their website rather than writing LinkedIn articles. Do you think we should focus on one thing or the other, or maybe on both?
Why can't you do both? I mean, who's going to come onto your website? Like, you have to get people to leave whatever they're doing and come onto your website. Whereas on LinkedIn, you are on a platform that's made for people to interact, to be there. So it's much easier to reach people on LinkedIn directly. But that doesn't mean that you cannot promote your blog stuff onto your on LinkedIn. So I would say just do your blogging, do your thing, but it's much easier to reach the right kind of people. Like, who's going to be asked to get onto your website? Like, do you think that your client, who's not even your client yet, your lead, who's doing their thing, you still need to convince them? Like, unless you really have warm contact, then it's going to be really hard to get them to come onto your blog. So it's going to be much easier to get that. Like,
blog is a good way to promote yourself on Google, and if you do it correctly, you can increase your search engine optimization. So eventually, it's more of a long-term game, I think.
Yes, they're both kind of long-term. Like, LinkedIn doesn't really show results in immediately, but it takes maybe 1 month, 2 months, depending on how consistent you are. Definitely, blogging is also like, if you do it properly, it's also a great strategy, of course. I know that you're really good at it, so.
I wouldn't say I'm really good at it. I do receive a couple of requests a month from my website, but I wouldn't say that I had major success and found some top list clients from my website.
The thing is that, like, blogging requires a lot of time. Like, for you, I don't know how long it takes you to write a blog post. I hate writing like long form posts. Yeah, it's crazy, you know. So I actually hired someone who writes like long blog posts for me, and then I fix them. I make them sound like me. I add and take things from them, but it's much easier to write a daily pill, you know, and it's also more consistent because can you realistically blog once a day? I don't think so. But on LinkedIn, you can post once a day, and that's like the daily pill, and that's how you are every single day out there in front of people. And you're not spamming them. You're just doing your thing, and then whoever come across you, you're fine, you know?
Yeah. I guess you can do both, and there's nothing bad about it. You can always publish an article on your blog, and then a couple of days later, probably repurpose it for LinkedIn, make it maybe shorter, more condensed, and
yes, exactly.
Interact with your network on LinkedIn directly.
Yes, exactly. You can also, like, LinkedIn even offers like a blogging platform, and it's getting more reach and visibility now. It's getting more importance. So, you know, you can definitely repurpose the blog post, just change a little, like a few bits here and there, and just repurpose it on LinkedIn, and that's going to give you more reach on LinkedIn than in your blog post, for example. You know.
We have one last question from Macarena. You actually mentioned NDAs during our conversation, but she's asking, should we include the names of the companies we work with in our LinkedIn profiles? And she asks it because as translators, we usually don't disclose who we work with.
Well, it depends if you have NDAs with these companies. So, you know, I have a few direct clients, and I have displayed all of them on my website. I have testimonials from them. I'm actually working on including 2 case studies about them on my website. Of course, I will ask for their approval, like if they're happy with it. Otherwise, I will just do an anonymized case study. Of course, or you can, you know, write about your translation agencies. I don't know, it really depends. I wouldn't probably write about all of my translation agencies if I only work with translation agencies. Just because, you know, because it's a different thing than a direct company, I guess. I don't know. Easier for your colleagues to just, I don't know. It's not like if you're not afraid of competition, and if you think that you are replaceable within the translation agency, that's fine. But you never know. I would rather maybe keep it off the public ladder in some way. I don't know. It's just how I feel about it. Because I've seen some colleagues do some weird stuff in the past, so I'd rather just keep it at that. Yes, yeah, Macarena, I know what you mean. So I would just focus on maybe listing, just kind of, always working around your NDA. Never be too specific about kind of work that you're doing, but maybe say, an automotive brand and how you work with. So never say for, because that puts you in the position of being an employee. Just say with an employee, like you work with a company. I just wanted to say that because sometimes it's easy to forget. You work with automotive companies, automotive brands, or pharmaceutical brands. You can always, just mention the type of companies or work that you do.
So actually, when you think about it, it's not that hard to work around those NDAs, because you don't have to talk about the companies you work with, but you can say what you did for them and talk about the projects that you did for them without going into any particular details. So
yes, as long as you don't make names and you don't mention names, and you don't make that project like impossible. It's just that specific project. Like it's identifiable with that project, then you're good to go.
So we're nearing 1 hour mark, and we have answered all the questions. To conclude our conversation, Martina, what would be your, 3 top tips for someone who wants to start marketing their services on LinkedIn?
Well, I haven't said so far, so just go and optimize your profile. Make sure that you're talking to your prospects all the time. Never talk about yourself. Just make sure that you are there talking to them. And then try and produce content. Be brave, get out of your comfort zone. If you don't, nothing is ever going to change on LinkedIn and on whatever other areas of life. So just try it out. Don't be afraid. Actually, if you are afraid, you can try. There is a group called My Silent Voice, I think. And it's exactly for people who are afraid of stepping out of the comfort zone and just putting themselves out there. So you can go and practice and try it there. So just try it out. And it's an ongoing, never-ending work in progress. You're never going to reach perfect state. It's just constant learning. So just do it.
Can you repeat the name? Can you repeat the name of the group again that you mentioned? Somebody's asking in the comments.
My Silent, I think.
Okay. My
Silent Voice. It was set up by one of my contacts, so I know. So that's why I know.
Okay. We'll probably then share a link to this group after the recording has ended, and we'll publish everything on the open mic.
Cool.
Okay, thank you so much for joining us tonight, and I'm sure that a lot of people will find this webinar useful because LinkedIn is a hot topic. We actually mentioned it during our previous webinar, and thank you everyone who was with us tonight or today, depending on where in the world you are. Please don't forget to share this webinar with your friends and colleagues who couldn't join us today. Also, don't forget to check out the website of our sponsor, that's smartcat.ai. You can press the green button below or the first link in the description if you are watching this in the recording. Also, visit our website at translatorsOnAir.com and subscribe to our newsletter so that you don't miss our future webinars. We always have amazing guests who share a lot of great tips that will help you thrive in your translation business. And we'll see you next week. That's it for today. Bye.
Thank you so much, Martina. Bye-bye, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you, guys. Bye.